All right. So, what do you say we kick this off with some Bruce Springsteen, guys?
No.
Okay.
Please, for the love of God, don't.
Out of all the reindeers, you know you're the mastermind. Run, Rudolph. Randolph ain't too far behind. Run, Rudolph. Santa's gotta make it to town. Santa, make him hurry, tell him he can take the freeway down. Run, Rudolph, 'cause I'm reeling like a merry-go-round.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hear Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portress, and I'm joined by Sean Keenan.
Heidi thinks that this show is going to go way downhill the more we talk about this movie.
I might not be wrong this week. And, of course, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, but you can call me Santamir from Noelheim.
Or whatever kind of horse shenanigans we're going to come up with. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an interesting show today. Normally, we'd put this a little bit later in the year, but man, oh man, December is packed with so much stuff that we got to put our Christmas episode as the first one in December. That's how much stuff we got to do in this month. A good problem to have, says I.
That's a sign of a good month.
It
Always.
is, man. I mean, I'm telling you, we got the Patreon thing coming up next month. We'll talk about that at the end of the program. And, of course, we got Rogue One, the end of the year. Man, like, before this month even, before November started, we were like, well, December's already done. We pretty much knew what we were going to do right off the bat because it kind of, it wrote itself. And this week, we're going to be getting into the holiday spirit and doing, I think it's called Marvel Frostfight, Marvel Superheroes. What's the proper title?
I think the full title is Marvel Superhero Adventures Frostfight.
Oh, it's a Scrabble name is what it is. Hey, let's see if we can use all the titles in one thing.
And what surprised me is this came out last year, and I had no idea it was out there.
Yeah, now, if we're to blame anyone for this, and I think that we can, I'd like to blame my brother-in-law for this. Because he's the one that suggested it. Now, granted, he did watch it with my nephew, who is 2. So at 2 years old, I think that we'll talk about whether or not this is appropriate for a 2-year-old. But to give you an idea, a 2-year-old loved this movie. So
Good. I'm glad to know
the
that
target age, though, right?
It's
yeah,
just
I'm glad
about.
to know that it brings some joy out there.
yeah, so we'll talk about appropriate audiences and all that, and whether or not it's appropriate for you and your holiday gatherings and whatnot. So,
It's not. Spoiler.
spoiler alert. So, what, you just not feeling it there, Sean?
Oh, my God, guys. Let's get into it.
No, we're not, because we're going to get into somebody who else that was feeling it. See what kind of a professional transition that was? You didn't quite give me the underhanded pitch that I was looking for, but we got it. Don't worry. We got a 5-star review on the iTunes, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
This is from the Q Diddy, not to be confused with the P Diddy. This is the Q Diddy. One better, I says.
Oh, yeah.
And it's entitled, I'm Feeling It. Met one of these guys Thursday at the Comedy Zone in Charlotte and had a brief, in-depth conversation, or discussion rather, on Batman and had to follow the podcast Best Random Encounter with a Stranger in a While. I'm glad he didn't put any more than that because that would have been awkward. No, but that was from a couple weeks back. It is fun when you can find those nerds in an audience and then just go, oh, this you're gonna like this. Just you have this, and he was hammered at the time. God bless him. And I'm surprised he remembered anything at that particular point. And I was just like, he'll never listen to this. And sure enough, he did. And he reviewed us on iTunes. So thank you, the Q Diddy. We appreciate that, man.
Very good, man. You need to keep working that club circuit for us there, Adam.
Yeah, I got to go around and just start shaking hands, kissing babies, and saying, hey, why don't you go on and review this podcast you've never listened to? But here's the thing, man. I had enough juice to back up all of my statements, Because you ever get in those those little arguments or discussions? We'll call them discussions to be polite with people, and they don't know what they're talking about. Not that this guy, guy didn't, but if you meet someone who kind of fancies themselves an expert and really doesn't know squat. Boy, that just makes you mad. And so, thankfully, he was not one of these people, but very, very Actually, most of the people I was talking to for that big giant conversation, because it was a lot of them, were some pretty smart people that kind of knew their stuff, and so it was like, hey, when you can converse with somebody in a intelligent manner, it's nice. You don't have to fight about stuff, even though we had some disagreements. We could all agree that Batman v Superman was pretty much a letdown.
So let me get this straight. You were talking with people, and sometimes you speak to people who don't know what they're talking about. They think they're experts on it, but they're not actually.
Yeah.
I don't want to point anybody out. You know, I don't want to call people out onto the carpet here. I have a friend who's like that, who a lot of the time he purports himself to be an expert on all things. And again, in complete anonymity, just for the sake of this conversation, I'll call him Schmadam Schmortress.
Oh,
is the friend that I have.
Sounds handsome. Go ahead. I don't know much about him, but sounds delightful already. Please go more.
Schmadam will find himself, he will talk himself into a corner from time to time, and then he's like, oh no, and then he's got to pull the ripcord and get out of that conversation real quick. So I'm glad that you, Adam Portress, did not have that problem talking to whoever this person is. Because when every so often when I run into my friend Schmadam Schmortress, he does run into that problem from time to time.
I mean, go in, pull the ripcord. Sounds like a very James Bondian type of guy. So, probably has a lot of those tendencies. So, no, I can get that. But, yeah, good
Adam,
on that guy.
I don't want to lie to you and say that the guy's super cool. So I'll just leave it at that.
Good. Speaking of people that are super cool, the people that go down and give us a little bit of their hard-earned money on the Patreon, patreon.com/HMP. It is a new month, and let me tell you guys that continue to support us month after month, do not disappoint ever. And executive producers for this month, stepping up yet again, Mr. Matthew Snap. Oof, long-time listener here. And, of course, you know him. You love him. Jim Beverly. You gotta love that Jim Beverly. I think he's been around probably longer than darn near almost anybody out there. He's one of the first ones there. So we really appreciate that. You guys are the executive producers of this month. If you want me to kind of pimp anything out for you, just let me know. You know how to reach me. And of course, all the other lovely people. And since we don't want to talk about Frostfight as much as we can, we'll name off everyone else as well.
Yeah, why don't we just start listing things that we like?
Beta, things that I like. They're called Beta Foo, Khalil DeMakel, Warren Leo, Marcus Terry, Eric Freeman, Rocket Face, Gorgon Campy, Martin Goebel, Winston Spalding, Mike Eastep, Apollonius, Louis Longshadow, Lee Svevic, Steve Heeden. Sure, Heeden. I bet that's right. And Lauren Carroll. Thank you all so much for your donations. They go all over the bank with that, and we appreciate it, guys. And you got your bonus episode there not too awful long ago. We're going to be cooking up another one here for you as well. Even though we dipped under the technical $100 mark this month, we'll still put one out for you guys, because you guys, like I said, the majority of people that are in here are longtime people that have been supporting the cause for a long time out, and I feel, frankly, deserve it. And we'll talk about something else that they also deserve at the end of the program as well.
Is it Christmas shoes?
Listen, if you're going to spoil everything right off the bat, I thought we had conversations about this before the show. You have to tease things properly, Bruce. Jeez Louise.
Is it footwear, holiday-themed footwear? That's a tease.
Can we talk about this for a second? In the Scrooge, the story of Scrooge, end of the movie, go get the biggest Christmas goose you can find.
Yes.
Just the biggest Christmas goose. Mm-hmm. In 100 years, has anyone gone, oh, man, I cannot wait for that Christmas goose?
Christmas goose meant an entirely different thing when I was growing up. So it was something you definitely did not look forward to.
I hear what was good for the goose was also good for the gander.
And take a gander at this movie.
Yeah. Speaking of gander, let's take a gander at the trailer for Marvel Superhero Adventures Frostfight.
You guys are killing it with the segues.
I grow weary of waiting. Where is Yolnir? Where is your Santa Claus?
Do you really think we'll tell you, Loki?
That really would be ideal.
Just imagine all of this, but with more colors. This is the best I could find as far as trailers goes. They don't have any. So the other
There's 20 minutes of voiceover talent just going, ooh,
there's like that was the best one that had any semblance of a story to it. Other than there was another one that was like the first like 5 minutes of. I'm like, that's not a trailer. When you put something in where the description is trailer, can't show me the first 5 minutes of it and go, that's a trailer. That's what's coming up in the thing, No, that's not how it works. Anyways, here's the IMDb plotline. This will quench any of your thoughts as to what's going on here. The IMDb plotline. The Marvel superheroes unite to try to stop Loki and the giant frost Ymir, from conquering the world as the duo try to steal Santa's powers to do so. This is directed by Mitch Schauer, and Mark Banker, starring a boatload of voiceover talent you probably don't know. Anyway.
Like Tom Hiddleston? Is Tom Hiddleston in this? And Robert Downey Jr., maybe Bradley Cooper, maybe Vin Diesel?
Let me check. Oh, no, all their cards were filled at that time. They could not drop by the voiceover studio to do this. I was as surprised as you, but I think we'll have some interesting things to talk about those voiceover actors. But before we do that, I think because, in this movie we get a little bit of a different Avengers cast than we've kind of seen in the movies and everything. And I think Bruce may have a little bit of a comic book connection here for us this week. What do you say, Bruce?
Well, I want to start off talking just a little bit about Reptile, also known as Humberto Lopez. He first showed up as a regular character in Avengers Academy in 2010. Now, Reptile wears a crystallized bone medallion that allows him to take on the abilities of different dinosaurs. And I've always thought of him as sort of the Royal Crown Cola to Beast Boy's Coke. Now, strangely, he cannot fully transform into a complete dinosaur, but he can shapeshift various parts of his body into different dinosaur appendages. And I want to know. Well, I want to know who thought it was a good idea to give an adolescent boy the ability to change his appendages into massive dino parts.
Yeah.
Don't they know what adolescent hormones do to a boy? Now, his amulet is magical, and not much is known about it except that it is not actually the source of his powers, but only the catalyst that allows him to access them, because to some people, convoluted is interesting. Now, I never heard of Reptile until he showed up in the Superhero Squad show, voiced by Carlos Alazraqui. That's the 100% accurate pronunciation there.
That is how you say that. Good job, Bruce.
With the inflection on the end?
He's probably best known as Deputy James Garcia on Reno 911.
Oh.
Now, Superhero Squad started in 2009, so I have a hunch that Reptile was created for the show, and he kind of shoehorned his way into the comics, and maybe some Teen Titans fans were involved. Now, I really like Superhero Squad show because episodes would revolve around plot points like trying to figure out whether it was Thor or the Hulk who backed up the toilet. Now, as much as I think the Teen Titans may have influenced Squad, I think Squad may have influenced Teen Titans Go in the perpetual arms race to see which company can make the goofiest incarnations of superheroes. And if you recall my sentiments about Peter Porker, you know that I'm 100% behind this. Now, Humberto Lopez was recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. scientist Valerie Cooper when she was putting together a squad to go after Stegron in his plot to reanimate dinosaur fossils, which was a natural fit because his parents were paleontologists that dug up a crystallized bone medallion when he was with them in the desert.
And they named him Stegron, for heaven's sake.
Yes. Now, Humberto used his bone to obtain the abilities of any dinosaur by thinking of it. We also learn that his parents disappeared on a dig, and he wants to become a hero so that he can find them. Now, I don't know if he ever found his parents or if they really disappeared or simply ditched their son and his hideous dinosaur appendages. Now, Ymir is a different story altogether. He is an actual frost giant from Norse mythology, and he doesn't need any crystallized bones for his power. Oh, and guys, do you know what killed the dinosaurs?
Meteor.
Well, according to the governor of California, it was the Ice Age. But anyway,
I hate you so much.
The Poetic Edda, a Norse saga, refers to Ymir as a primeval being who was born from venom that dripped from the icy rivers of Elleviagar and lived in the grassless void of Ginnungagap. And that is pretty much self-explanatory, isn't it?
Of course.
Yeah, nailed it.
Also, Odin fashioned the earth from his flesh, and from his blood, the ocean, from his bones, the hills, from his hair, the trees, from his brains, the clouds, from his skull, the heavens, and from his eyebrows, the middle realm in which mankind lives, Midgard. Now, talk about using every part of the animal. Now, in the comics, Ymir considers all other forms of life, with the exception of his kin, the frost giants of Niflheim, to be aberrations that must be destroyed. And in the comics, he is 1,000 feet tall and can be banished to Niflheim by Mjolnir, and autocorrect hated that sentence.
Mhm.
Now, in the comics, he's more of a force of nature akin to Godzilla than some Mr. Freeze imposter relegated to being Loki's villainous sidekick. But one thing the movie got right about him is that he really hates Santa.
How much will people pay for postcards to Niflheim?
I know somebody who went to Niflheim, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. That'd be a good one.
I bought a large property, a large chunk of property. I've been trying to figure out what to name it, and now I think we've got an answer.
Oh my gosh.
My friends, welcome to Niflheim.
Care to let me show you my Mjolnir?
No, thank you. Kids, get away from this man. He's a weirdo.
So let me ask you guys this question, because it is a mouthful trying to explain what we're watching here. Because there's like how many different incarnations of the Avengers for on television at this point, where now it's Marvel Superhero Adventures Frostfight, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to distinguish between them, why doesn't Marvel call them something like what we're watching here, something like the Marvel Buddies or something
I
like
would
that?
like that. Yeah, the Marvel Buddies would be pretty good, but I think the tone of this movie matches pretty well with all of their animated series right now. They really dumbed it down a good bit after Avengers Assemble, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
After that, I think it was, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. After that one sort of got the rug pulled out from under it, and they started over with Avengers Assemble and Hulk and the Agents of Smash and Guardians of the Galaxy. They've really aimed more at the younger kids than they did with the really good shows. So this
Bruce,
is pretty much consistent with what I've seen on Disney XD.
So Bruce, you have kids. How up in these cartoons are your children?
They love the Ultimate Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, or whatever the current incarnation of Spider-Man is. I don't think they really check out the rest.
Mm-hmm. And this movie is aimed towards them, though, right? I mean, you have if I'm not mistaken, you do have a 6-year-old, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got a kindergarten kid. I've got a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. And Spider-Man hits them all pretty well, but this they haven't seen.
Oof. Now, I can't even imagine being a child at this point now and watching, like, oh, man, I got to watch Marvel Buddies and watch them save Santa.
See, that's rough. I mean, like, what are their have they? And I don't know, but they done any like Teen Titans Go? Because like as a kid, that's what I would have been watching.
Yeah, they love Teen Titans Go. It's probably the most often viewed show here in the house, and I watch that along with them, and I love that as well.
I love that show.
Yeah. And, Marvel Superhero Squad, it's been off the air for a few years, but did either of you guys watch that?
Mm-mm.
No.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was much closer in tone to Teen Titans Go than to most of the other Marvel animated series, and it had like the little sort of thick, stumpy looking. They all were kind of short with big heads and thick arms and legs, but really short. It was kind of a fun show. You need to maybe just go YouTube a little bit of it or something.
Like kind of real
just
proper,
see a few clips.
Proper cartoon type, so to speak.
Yeah, it was kind of
Real
fun,
out of
and I'm
proportion.
pretty sure that Reptile was created just for that show and then worked his way into the comics from there.
So is there continuing adventures with this incarnation of the Marvel Buddies?
Oh, are you talking about the Superhero Squad show or what we watched today?
No, what we watched today. I mean, is there more? Is there more out there?
I think that the intention was that there would be. Now, I don't know if anything else has been out there yet, but when you give it something like Marvel Superhero Adventures, that makes me think it's going to be an ongoing series.
Right.
And it may be they may be going down the route where they'll just release a couple of like this thing, straight to DVD kind of special things for for a song and then just go, enough kids will buy it to where we'll, make a small, tidy profit on it. Not something huge, but, it's enough to keep things going.
They could throw it up once a year on Disney XD or whatever and get some money from ads, put it on TV.
Yeah.
Like they did with that Phineas and Ferb Marvel special.
Wait a minute. I feel like I heard about that.
Yeah, it's a couple years old now. It's worth checking out.
Interesting.
Is it holiday themed?
Yeah. Oh, well, no. It's just Phineas and Ferb meet the Avengers kind of thing. And I think maybe MODOK, Doctor Doom. There's some Doc Ock. There's some bad guys that show up, and Phineas and Ferb have to help the Avengers defeat them.
Okay. We're really creating a universe here now. Something way better than what we watched today.
Yeah.
Marvel buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Marvel buddies, they would all be golden retrievers.
And they inexplicably have 16
fine.
films.
That's fine. You got Iron Dog. You've got Captain Retriever. I mean,
I like that one.
That all works.
And then Reptile can turn into any breed of dog other than a golden retriever, one leg at a time.
Nailing it. And we have the bad guy every single week be MODOK.
Yes. And it's just a big dog head. It's actually a dog that they got at the pound that had rabies, and they had to cut his head off. So they just put it on a little remote-controlled drone and fly it around.
I see.
Look, you first of all, Bruce, you know that I love all of your ideas. I think your ideas are amazing. You are absolutely wrong. MODOK has to be a cat head.
Oh, you're right, man. It's got to be kitty galore. You're right.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
You got to put a pug in there somewhere, though.
Oh,
that would be Lockjaw.
There you go. Well, that's true. There you go.
Yeah, that's the alien invasion.
How do you think we wrap everything together in one tiny bow? Hello. That's me not even thinking.
Right.
So this place starts as all Christmas specials do, on the beach.
That's right.
Man. I love it. Haven't you ever seen Christmas Vacation 2, Lost in Paradise or whatever?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, like the sequel to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where cousin Eddie and like the original actress who played Audrey are on a desert island somewhere.
You're a poor schmuck that actually watched that. You're the one, huh?
Watched it, man.
I
thought
was
everybody
in it.
had.
No, the original is the only one that you. Why would you? I don't even.
How's that for convoluted? It's the third movie in the Vacation franchise, and it's a sequel to only the third one.
Yes.
Awesome.
It's not as good as A Christmas Story 2, but it's pretty good. Or The Sandlot 3.
There's a pecking order, and you have to follow it.
Sandlot 3, keep sanding.
Keep on sanding.
Exactly.
Keep on sanding around the bases. But yeah, so we get they're on a beach, and then for some reason, do they really give us a reason other than the fact that, hey, here's a frost giant, and the Avengers are fighting him on the beach?
Yeah, there's a casket, and what they call a casket is not what I think of when I hear the word casket.
It's a
there's
box.
Like this magical treasure chest kind of thing that has some sort of power, and we've got our Avengers there trying to keep Ymir, the frost giant, from getting that casket.
So here is, I've already got a question. How far is the frost giant's power reach? Are we talking like a 5-mile radius? Because he shows up at that beach and things get chilly real quick.
I would imagine, come on, he's a frost giant. And he's not any frost giant. He's like the frost giant. Odin made Midgard from his eyebrows, for heaven's sake.
Right, he's the king of the frost giants.
They didn't just call him Frost. He's a frost giant, for heaven's sake.
Right.
He refers to himself as the Caesar of the frost giants, but it's the same idea.
Right. Everybody else is just a frost adult compared to him.
Yeah. Remember, he should be 1,000 feet tall if they were being comic book accurate. But he does say that the tropical location weakens his powers and allows him to ultimately be defeated by a guy who, they say Reptile can turn into, his appendages into any sort of dinosaur appendage, but did we ever see him do anything other than the pterodactyl wings?
He gets a Tyrannosaurus
he has
head.
A Tyrannosaurus Rex head.
Oh yeah, but that was just for a real cute cuddly moment.
That's it. That is literally all you get. And
also you don't see it, but there's one point where he manufactures a Stegosaurus's tail in his pants.
If you will.
That's when he had to use the locker room for the first time at school.
That's right.
Let me tell you this. When this reptile shows up, so you got the Avengers fighting out there. You got your Hulks. You got your Thors. You got your Captain Americas. Your Iron Mans. We even threw in a Miss Marvel for crying out loud.
Captain Marvel at this point. She got a promotion.
That's true. That's true. Very good. And sure as shooting, we get what I will call the cousin Oliver of Marvel Comics coming into the thing where you're just like, why is he? Oh, that's right. This is for stupid little children. I love you, children, but you're stupid. And Reptile is the reason that you're dumb. Because you go, I like Reptile. He's cool. Reptile stinks.
Adam, I can almost guarantee you there was no child anywhere who was like, Reptile's my favorite.
That's
no
a good
one was
point.
doing that.
That's a good point. That's more an executive going.
The kids who loved him on Superhero Squad show are like 7 years older now, probably not watching this movie.
You're right. That's an executive that's sitting back in the office going, you know what these kids are going to like? Reptile. They're going to love them.
If you get the kids good and drunk first, they'll think it's Beast Boy.
Well, in our new vehicle, Marvel Buddies, Reptile will still be there.
Yeah, of course. In fact, he'll be kind of like the new Captain America.
Yeah. Well, no. I have to disagree with you because see, the first Marvel Buddy they find in ice, they had him. I can't even finish. I'm laughing so hard at my stupidity.
I can already see like the ASPCA statement at the end of the movie. No animals failed to be harmed during the making of this film.
No reptiles.
Ooh, I like it.
Now, what did you guys think about Captain Marvel being in this? We haven't really seen her in anything that we've watched before, not that I can recall.
No. I thought it was
Carol
pretty cool.
Danvers.
I thought it was cool. I'm like, and I think that's a smart move on the kind of production people to really start kind of, it sounds like a bad term, but shoehorning this character in here so kids start to recognize who that is. So when the Captain Marvel movie comes out, then kids will be like, oh, I've seen her on the thing, man, and like they'll totally be down already.
They're gonna go say, hey, finally, we're gonna get some more of that frostfight action.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she's in other stuff. She's got to be, right?
I don't know, man.
God,
I don't know. Miss Marvel was in Superhero Squad, but that's when she was still showing some leg.
Ooh.
But
what'd you think of her hair? That her hair, man, they really, I don't know, it just caught my attention. They really worked hard to try to make it look a little bit messy, but they didn't want to put enough effort into it to really make it look good. So it almost looked like like her hair came from The Simpsons, and none of the rest of the animation did.
I don't know. I thought it seemed like it was trying to go fairly kind of, for certain times, of course, comic book esque. It worked enough for me.
It definitely always had that look like being the only lady on that team of guys. She maybe got her hair tousled a lot or something.
That's the old hair, right? That's the old version of her. Because doesn't she have like a mohawk now or something?
Well, for a while she had like a mask that her long hair would bunch up and come through the middle and look like a mohawk. But now she's got just one of those really shortly cropped. I'd like to speak to the manager haircuts.
Oh. She's fine, but I'll tell you that what I thought, like there's kind of like an outstanding figure here and a not so outstanding figure here. Let's start with the not outstanding.
Please.
Captain America stinks. His this voiceover actor doing Captain America. I don't think like Captain America himself is. Like, he's a bit of a downer. He's got zero sense of humor whatsoever. And, I figure in this kind of outing and stuff, he's got to have at least like half a smile on. You know what I mean? Just to kind of give him a little
That's
brevity.
funny that you should bring that up because one of the things that bugs me is that the Hulk is constantly cracking wise in this movie.
We'll get to him, too.
The Hulk is not only, like, massive and huge, but suddenly he's a 9-year-old.
I think the way to go is you don't make Captain America in this movie. You don't make him funny. You make him sound like a really old man.
That's good.
But
he's constantly scolding the other Avengers,
But
I think that would have worked.
But you could get some humor out of that. I think that's more my point, is that there's like zero humor in that character.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And when it comes to humor, Iron Man, the Tony Stark here, kind of seems like the guy that's new in school, and he's trying just a little too hard to get everybody to like him.
I'm going to say that's my other thing is that's where my exemplary comes from. This guy is doing the best RDJ that you possibly could. And
That
he's
dude
kinda killing
sounds
it.
just like him.
He's kind of
Yeah.
killing it, dude. And I was just like, I want to see a show with this cat in it, man, because it's almost to the point where it's just like you feel like he's doing it almost too much, but it reins in. It's like it comes back before it becomes really annoying, and you're just like, gosh, he's really good.
Yeah.
And he's got a couple of good moments. Like I think when they're still on the tropical island there, and Reptile gets knocked unconscious, he says, "Don't worry, guys, I'll handle this." Hey, wake up! Huh? Well, I guess I didn't have it under control like I thought. There are a couple of moments where he does that sort of, "I've got this under control," fails miserably, and then has to let somebody else handle it.
Yeah, there's some great, like, the writing for Iron Man was really, really strong in this. I thought it felt like it caught what they're doing, like, really in the movies, and honestly a lot in the comics too.
It seems like Marvel has really kind of locked in on that character ever since RDJ took him over, you know? Like it seems like they really, in every aspect of it, they really have him nailed. They know who that character is. And it's so weird. It's so weird to
last
think
week. Until last week when Brian Michael Bendis killed Tony Stark, but I'm sure he'll be back soon.
What? What?
Yeah, Civil War II, man. Last week.
Spoiler
Bendis had
alert.
Captain Marvel blow a hole through his chest.
But,
Now he lives on as sort of an AI, kind of like Jarvis.
Well, why does Bendis do this all the time? You're not Joss Whedon.
Here's the thing. I think Marvel's just look. Here's a path you got to go down. Just make sure that you end up back at point B.
Now, I know we get the scene when the Frost Giant fails to steal the casket that he was trying to get, and he goes back and meets with Loki, and they come up with their master plan to steal a separate casket that can drain the powers from Santa Claus.
Tag me in, because I have all of it.
You're in.
So I'm sorry for stepping on your feet here a little bit, Bruce, but I had to look into it because the term the casket that the Frost Giant already has is called the Casket of Ancient Winners.
Okay.
And that sounded too cool for something that they came up with on this stupid horse hockey, like 5-year-old cartoon. So I looked into it. And it is from the Marvel universe, like the proper comic book universe. And it has a history and all this other stuff. So I did a little bit of a deep dive here. Casket of Ancient Winners contains the fury of 1,000 killing winters.
Nice.
It first appeared in Thor number 346 in 1984.
Yeah.
And the other casket is something that they just came up with in this movie, like for this movie, and it's called the very lamely named the Casket of Ancient Power.
Okay. And here's what I think Marvel really needs to do. And I think they need to give some credibility to this movie and have that Casket of Ancient Power be that 6th yet to be seen Infinity Stone for the Infinity War movie.
And
Totally agree. We really need to bring this thing into, everyone needs to see this.
the animated bit. Yeah. No, that makes
And
sense.
then just leave that part of the glove animated too.
Oh man, that's a really good idea.
And then have
And it's a
Jolnir.
casket.
Yeah, and have Jolnir come in and stop Thanos at the end.
I love it. We have some really great ideas today, you guys.
Dear
Now,
Mr. Feige, I have another $1 billion idea for you.
Did they ever explain how Loki convinced Ymir to work with him?
Mime.
They basically were. I think they was just like, look, you Frost Giant, I'm bad guy. That's all you got to know.
Okay, I didn't know because I just didn't understand why these two were working together. It's not always one of those enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of situations when it comes to Ymir and anyone else. He's kind of a solo character.
The thing I don't get is that, if they're looking for power, why don't they amass power by having a year-round ski resort and just have the Frost Giant show up occasionally? And, even in the middle of summer, you could be skiing. You'd make millions.
I mean,
But he's more of a snowboarder.
Oh, yeah.
They got those indoor ones where, like in July, you can go, skiing inside of a big giant warehouse or something like that. I've seen that on the internet.
Where is that?
I think it's in Japan. Something
And
like
I
that.
do like how they give just a little bit of lore to Santa Claus here. Apparently, Santa Claus is an Asgardian known as Jolnir, and I think he's the offspring of a light elf and a frost giant, maybe?
That is correct.
This was dumb
So-
as crap, but for some weird, stupid reason, I kind of was like, well, good on you, Marvel, that you can put some sort of crazy hodgepodge together and kind of put Santa Claus in the Marvel universe to have it quote unquote make sense. I kind of give him credit for the try.
So what was your favorite part, Adam? Is it the part where he brings presents to all of the children in the 9 worlds? And he's able to bend the space-time continuum because of the casket of ancient powers.
I didn't say it was smart. I said I give him credit for trying to put all that together. I didn't say it was executed with utter fantastic fashion. I said, oh, look, they put enough in there to where they kind of like, hey, how can we shoehorn Santa Claus into this Marvel universe that we put together? Hey, here's something convoluted enough to where you go, okay, fair enough. It's one of those
fantastic fashion.
I
love that. That's a good term.
You just tell me the rules of it, and I go, okay, sure.
But what they didn't do, which they really should have, is at some point had Santa lift Mjolnir to prove he was worthy.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely. Oh, my God. What a lost opportunity. What are they doing?
Now, one thing I did kind of find entertaining, I did like, it was a bit of a contrivance to just shoehorn Groot and Rocket into this movie because obviously you're aiming at kids. You're going to want Rocket and Groot in there. But I do like the way that Loki put out that bounty on Santa Claus, described him as being wanted for breaking into houses and stealing cookies. I like that.
That was
Animal
cool.
cruelty is another one.
Yeah, animal cruelty really got Rocket's goat.
And not for nothing, they could be taken out of this. And I ain't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy animated program, so I can't speak to that either. But I enjoyed their little kind of, more cameo plus, if you will.
Yeah, they added some life to this thing that desperately needed it.
Yeah, I liked Rocket getting in. At first, I was just like, oh, this is going to be. And I was like, no, it kind of works for me. It overall, I thought they were a nice little addition to this that I kind of wish we would have had a little bit more of them.
Agreed.
And what was the Heim that Santa lived on? I can't remember now which Heim it was.
He lives in Alfine.
Alfine. Okay, so I do like it when they first show up at Alfine and they meet the gingerbread men. And Groot kind of takes them out, and then he realizes that these are more like ginger dead men. And I'm a big fan of the ginger dead man. So having a whole army, especially the one that was two-headed, I did not expect them to go with zombie gingerbread men, given the target audience here.
That was very cool. They're like, oh, they're like zombies, and they picks up the other head, puts it on top of his shoulder, and kept coming. I like that, man. I thought that was fun.
But I'm sure they missed a major opportunity because they could have had Gary Busey voice at least one of those ginger dead men.
I think they scheduled him, but he could not find his way. I think he said he was lost in Isengard or something. I don't know.
I have to be honest with you. I do not get this reference. Why him?
Oh,
because he was the voice of the ginger dead man.
Don't you?
You got to go check out some good movies for a change.
Don't you worry, Sean. There is going to be a point at some time because it is what this podcast does. We will have to cover that movie because, well, Bruce has been quoted on a cover of that comic, for crying out loud. So we've got to, at some point or another, we're going to be talking Ginger Dead Man. So, but here's the thing. I've seen the first 10 minutes, and that's all I've seen. So if that tells you anything, and I watched some garbage.
Well, the sequels step it up a little bit, but they don't have Gary Busey.
Oh, well, there you have it, kids.
Do you like Puppet Master,
there's
Sean?
more than one of those?
I vaguely remember watching either the first one or the second one, and laughing a lot. So
Ginger Dead Man's made by the same folks that made Puppet Master, Full Moon.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Adam, what is that team? Who is that production team? What is that called?
Oh, I don't know, but I'll say this: horror fans.
Full Moon.
Full Moon. Thank you.
I'll drop another
my
one.
Buddy,
that stinks.
Let me get this out.
Go.
So my buddy is a cameraman. He has been working for a million years. He is also the only person I have ever met who has a Laserdisc player.
Nice.
He has the entire Full Moon catalog on Laserdisc.
Sweet.
It was, and this is in the 90s. I mean, we're talking like 95.
Yeah.
He had at no less than 10 Full Moon movies, and I'd asked him, so how many of those have you seen so far? And he goes, man, maybe 3.
Did he have Evil Bong?
I couldn't tell you. I know that he had the Puppet Master stuff. He had one of the Doll Man. I think Doll Man.
I don't know as much about Doll
There's
Man.
one called Dolls. I know that. I don't know if that's the same. That's another thing. Bill, Chris from OTC, write in. Tell us how we're wrong. I don't know.
But what about these Emerald Guard? Like they have the warriors, the guardian elves, I guess, if you will, for Jolnir here, for Santa Claus that are in Affelheim. And they're quite militaristic. And I also like the way that Tony tries to approach them, tries to talk to them in their own language, if you will, fails miserably. But they always kind of listen to Reptile to let the kid be the hero.
Oh, what a load of crap that is. Those elves would have blown that fool away. Here's where we also get into what I like to call the Gil Kane portion of our program. Because every one of these elves, we get that famous Gil Kane up the nose shot from like all of them.
Once the elves showed up, I don't know if it was the way they were drawn, if it was the way that they moved, but I suddenly had like a 90s or even late 80s cartoon Saturday morning kind of flashback there, because it really seemed like characters from Masters of the Universe or something.
This is the worst
you're not
Silverhawk
wrong.
trip-off
or
ever.
Like when Captain America had his own like he had a full armor. Remember?
Yeah. But and then there's also this monster guarding the cask of ancient power that's called the Eurokraken. And I got to tell you, Eurokraken sounds like something you really need to go see a doctor about.
I was just like, does this Kraken play ABBA or something? What's going on? I was very confused.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's spelled, but I don't know. It sounded to me, too close to like a urological problem.
To me, it sounds like lazy writing.
He's like a Kraken, only he's European.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense to me. I got nothing else. I mean, like, look, that's because that's how much thought they put into this. You're like, what are you gonna call him? Euro Kraken. Sounds good to me. Let's go to lunch.
One of the good things I will say, I thought it was a nice touch, and this is about as high praise as I'm going to give this thing. It was a nice touch to have the elf soldiers riding reindeer.
Oh, of course, man. Of course.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if they were reindeer or elk, but I guess they would be reindeer since they're in Affelheim.
Right.
Have you ever tried to ride a reindeer?
Not in Affelheim, I haven't.
I heard it's not nearly as easy as it looks.
Look, so when did we get to the point where they have to go to the mall and get Gary the Santa Claus lookalike or whatever his name was?
Well, that's going on right about now because for some reason Thor and Hulk refused to go on this journey. Like they thought it was a fool's errand. So they get stuck with backup duty, which is just in case we can't save Santa, somebody's got to deliver those presents.
That's a lot to put on Gary, man. I mean, that dude was working at Radio Shack
come on.
5 minutes ago.
His name was Nick.
Sorry. Of course it's Nick.
Whatever.
And it is kind of fun there too. The little bit of fun where Thor keeps thinking that Nick looks familiar and Hulk's the smart one here. He's just infuriated that Thor can't see the difference or can't see the similarity there. So he goes and dresses him up in the red hat and the cloak so that Thor can finally get it through his thick Asgardian skull that this guy actually does look like a department store Santa.
But
clearly, Peter David influenced Hulk.
Well, here's the thing, though.
This was Mr. Fix-It.
But Peter David, that's precisely where I was going. But Peter David's Hulk was way smarter than this guy. This is like Peter David's Hulk, but like after he sniffed a lot of paint.
He wasn't sniffing it. He was eating the chips, man, off of an old house.
No kidding.
But they do sort of recruit Nick here to play the role of Saint Nick. And dress him up like Santa, and they get some plastic reindeer and a sled, and I do like it too. And they tell him they need all the toys and just put it on Tony Stark's credit card, which, it would have worked a little bit better if Hulk would have actually pulled out that Amex Black or something, because I don't think you can just say put this on, name a person, and say credit card, and that works at a store. Because I've tried it.
That's the only 1950s store that's still there. There where you just go put this on the stock account, please, and they go yes, sir. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did like how they were so proud, aka it cost the most money to do that one shot where it's kind of like a lower shot going up where the presents are coming at you and everything, because they used the same specific shot twice. Because I looked at it and I was just like, that cost a lot of money. That shot did, because there's there's some short takes that are in this thing that, like, you can tell weren't animated properly, because there's some slow-mo stuff that was clearly just kind of slowed down in post and not actually animated in slow-mo. And this was one of the ones where you can tell that they did proper slow-mo of the presence coming at you, which is a little bit harder, obviously, than like left to right or anything of that nature, up to down. But on that Z-axis coming to you, and they were so proud of that shot that they did it twice. And it looked good, but it was just like, it was so weirdly out of place to me.
And meanwhile, back in Appleheim, Rocket and Groot have gotten past the Ginger Dead Men challenge, and they run into this version of Mrs. Claus that I think's kind of fun.
She's sprightly, that Mrs. Claus.
Yeah,
this is my least favorite type of character, where it's like, we're going to Lollapalooza. I hate that.
Well, she's got her little rocket sled, and she's such an insane driver that even Rocket's scared to ride with her. And we have a little bit of fun of her driving Rocket and Groot around and scaring them to get to, I guess, the magic disappearing cabin where Yolnir's supposed to live.
We're going to Florida. It's so, I don't know, like, seriously, they really should have been like questioning that woman's sanity the entire time, because she was always just like, nah, bro, I'll drive. She was like that really drunk friend that just is like really hyped to do everything, and it's just like, no, I got this.
Doesn't Rocket even let her fly the ship?
Several times.
That's pure insanity there.
Several times. Because they finally
they get off the sled, they get into the ship to go to the North Pole to try to find Santa when Santa's not at home, and they get to fly the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid belt.
Yeah, that was such a Millennium Falcon looking thing, and just like, that's not even, it's like you're not even trying. You just was like, hey, what's that movie we all like? Hey, Empire Strikes Back. Okay, we're gonna recreate that, but put Mrs. Claus in it with a talking tree and a raccoon. That'll work.
Why don't they just make it the Millennium Falcon? I mean, it's so clearly supposed to be that anyway.
Yeah.
And they do have the rights, but I think they could have at least called it like the Century Hawk. You can just dial it back a little bit.
Century Hawk. I like it. That's, again,
and I do like it that we all say
Marvel
Falcon. I do like it that we all say Falcon, because folks that make it rhyme with Vulcan, which includes Harrison Ford, it's unsettling to me a little bit.
It's a tomato to me. I'm not going to bust anybody's nuggets over that.
Well, I do like we get back to see sort of a practice run or something where Thor becomes Rudolph. He has to actually guide the sleigh while Nick is holding on for dear life because he has motion sickness and a fear of heights and all this sort of thing. And that leaves Hulk to just carpet bomb the local village as he throws those presents down, and they really look like, this is the Lufthansa coming to destroy Poland in 1939.
They're just blowing up wherever they land. He's throwing them just like a deep bomb throw, just boom, and they're exploding like landmines.
I certainly hope none of those gifts were fragile.
It was, I don't know. It was just bizarre. And can we talk real quick about how...
But that was foreshadowing.
That's true. Thor's voice stinks too. That guy's no good. I don't know why. Just something about him didn't hit me. Didn't feel like Thor. I don't know. I don't even
remember him saying much, so I don't even remember. Like, at this moment, I have no memory of what his voice sounded.
Yeah, see, I think that's the problem.
You would think it would be in it a lot more, since it's two of his bad guys. It's the main plot point.
Yeah, he really is relegated.
The Avengers are going to take this massive adventure in Asgard, and Thor's the one guy who's going to stay on Earth.
Stay with the Hulk. We don't care for you none.
And I do kind of like it once they get to where Santa's supposed to be, our heroes, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Captain America, and Reptile. Once they get there and Santa's gone, and the Emerald Guard are still wanting to try to apprehend our Avengers, they tell them, hey, your job's to protect Santa. Now that he's gone, your job's done, right? And that was interesting, just how easily they gave up on that. That's like telling the Secret Service, look, I know you wanted to catch me because I came here to assassinate the president, but look, I missed my shot, so we're all good now, right?
Some other guy just assassinated the president, and now I'm clean, so let me go.
I didn't succeed, and that guy did. Hello.
And we get a nice story about how important Santa is to Umberto, and how Tony Stark doesn't believe in Santa and why. So we get those opposing flashback scenes, I guess you could say.
What a bunch of garbage this is.
It was so touching to me that I had to pause it because I was crying so hard.
I know, man. It reminded me of that time when I spent Christmas morning in a tent in the desert, and all of a sudden I woke up and it was filled with plants and dinosaurs.
Was that your trip to Russia?
Yeah, that was a summer trip. I did spend Christmas in Prague one time, but there were no dinosaurs involved.
Bruce Leslie stars in Christmas in Prague.
Along with Bob Hope. But and then Tony Stark is a spoiled rich kid, I guess you could say. And we get to see a little bit of Howard Stark in that flashback, and he wants empirical evidence that Santa exists, which I guess he thinks he's going to get from a letter.
I think that's how it works.
I'd love to try to publish a scientific article in Lancet where my evidence was that I got a letter back from somebody.
Hey, that's how I knew Pepsi existed. I sent them off a letter, and they sent me one back with a the right thing T-shirt. So, I
have definitive proof that Bigfoot exists. Here is the letter.
I wrote. This is absolutely true. When I was a kid, I wrote a letter to Nintendo where I can't believe I'm about to say this. I wrote a letter to Nintendo where I had a game. I had a game idea for them. And so, I mapped it out. I made like my stupid kid drawings of what it would look like. And then at the end of it, I threatened them and I said, "Hey, if you guys don't go with this game, I'm going to go to Sega with this great idea." and Nintendo actually sent me something back. It was very nice. And they were, very cordial. And they were like, "Hey, this piece of crap little kid, you just threatened us to go to Sega with this stuff. The least we can do is give him a letter back saying, 'Hey, thanks, but no thanks.'"
Here's Sega's address. Knock yourself out.
So funny, man. I just thought of that too. I literally did. I threatened them that I would go to Sega with my great game idea.
Watch it. I'm going to Sega.
Then
punk.
Mysteriously, without any credit given to Sean, Battletoads showed up.
Oh my god.
What was the Earthworm video game? Earthworm Jim?
Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Mine was
That's what I'm picturing. You created Earthworm Jim.
Mine was called Salamander Sally.
My game was called Shoot 'em Uphill. And you literally had to run uphill the entire game.
Oh, did you get to shoot people?
No. Yeah, of course you did.
So it's sort of like Doom with a grade.
It was Akari Warriors, but 3-dimensional because you're running uphill.
Man, the calves on that character at the end of every level, unbelievable.
Exactly. It looked like The Rock by the end.
Now, I guess we can talk about this final massive epic battle at the North Pole. Because in addition to Appleheim, the North Pole is important to Santa too. So, they didn't just put Appleheim at the North Pole. He had to go from there to the North Pole so that everybody can converge. Somehow some Emerald Guard show up there, but they're being controlled by Loki instead of being controlled by Santa at this point. And I don't know, Reptile punches Loki out. Isn't that how it goes down?
I guess, but I don't see anything that Reptile does of any measure. It's just like, gosh, they are just trying to shoehorn him in there. I'm telling you, man, he's Cousin Oliver. They're just like, let's put him in here because he's a kid.
And don't start sandbagging the kid, man, because we're gonna need him for Marvel buddies. Come on.
And they do lower two gods from the machine here in this climax, because at first the battle seems lost, and then in comes Hulk and Nick, the Toy Story guy or the toy store guy, just firebombing the presents at the bad guys to give our heroes that little boost they need to win the battle against Loki. However, they do forget about Amir.
That's where all those Nintendo classic things are going, man. He's just throwing them at people and they're blowing up.
Oh, man, they're those Hatchimals. Do you know how expensive those things are right now?
I hear those things are going crazy.
Yeah. But, he firebombs people with the gifts, which, that's a new power I need to add to the Hulk's repertoire. Mm-hmm. And then after they defeat Loki, they forget about Amir, who shows up and just ice babies them all into a big cage. And that's when Rocket and Groot and Mrs. Claus show up, I think.
I forget.
We're back from Lollapalooza.
Yeah, they somehow, what do we call it? The Century Hawk. It's got lasers that can break the ice but not damage the people contained within the ice, which is the most useful kind of laser, really.
For sure.
And Santa gives Rocket a brand new spaceship, I think, for Christmas. And then Santa proves to Tony that he exists. And I think he gives Umberto a hug and says, "Oh, I always knew you were the best, Umberto," or something like that. And it sounds really funny to hear Santa say Umberto.
Yeah.
This is the second time where I had to pause it because I was weeping too hard and I didn't want to miss anything.
There was a point though. There was a point where it became Peter Pan, where like Santa Claus is dead and Umberto's just like, clap your hands if you believe, everybody.
Oh yeah,
because
Loki does suck the power out in that casket of ancient power.
What a load of crap.
And then Loki gets, he imbues himself with the ability to fit down chimneys, I guess.
Yeah, basically.
I would have liked to have seen some cutscenes of Hulk trying to go down chimneys. That would have been fun.
I would like to see a superhero team that has Reptile and Santa in it.
Well, that might be the sequel to this.
It's 2016 already, and they didn't put out a new one. I think we're doomed.
Well, it takes 3 years on production on something like this.
I think we're doomed.
It's going to be Frost Battle to the Extreme, the next one.
To the extreme.
Marvel Buddies.
There's
Marvel Buddies, Frost Battle to the Extreme, !
And there's no E in the extreme. It's just a big giant X.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Clearly.
Man, good idea.
and Reptile's going to be joined by Adam X.
There you go. That works for me. All right, so we're done. So
yeah, well, I had like a really detailed description of Santa's super sled that he has at the end, but I think everybody gets the idea.
Yeah, it's tricked out. It's if Exhibit made Santa a sleigh. Let's just put it that way. That's all you got to know.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Christmas.
I put a fireplace in this, son. It's just whatever. So. Well, before we get to our official rating here, we have to figure out, and these are always a struggle, so I always like to see the acrobatics Sean is going to have to pull off with this one. We have to find out how this movie relates back to our good friend, Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, thanks, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
I was pretty sure there wouldn't be a Stallone connection this week. In fact, if I was a betting man, which I'm not because betting is illegal, I would have bet that I would have had to have made some really flimsy case that it would have been unsatisfying to all of you. But more importantly, it would have not satisfied me. But I did my job, and I did the research on this hobo barrel fire of a movie, and wouldn't you know it, I got a hit. That person is Lolita Ritmanis. And she works in the sound department for movies and television. She's been in the business since 1987, when she composed the music for a movie called Interview with Terror, which sounds awful, but whatever it takes to get your foot in the door, am I right? My favorite credit on her resume is Arthur 2, Arthur on the Rocks, which when I was poking around IMDb, one reviewer described it as such, quote, "I am now truly dumber for watching this movie. Not once did I get close to laughing. Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli seem to be competing to see who could do the worst job. This is definitely one of the worst 5 movies I have ever seen." Man, that is pretty great. Lolita's also worked on Hudson Hawk, Batman Forever, and Under Siege 2 Dark Territory, which brings me to the question, when is Steven Seagal going to finally get to that third Under Siege movie in the trilogy? I get that he's a perfectionist and he's an artist, so he wants to make sure it's perfect. But listen, we have been waiting for 21 years, Mr. Seagal, and allow me to spitball here, but maybe have the whole thing take place on one of those self-pedaling beer trolleys I see from time to time in hipster neighborhoods. You know where to find me, Seagal. I'm available. Lolita Ritmanis has done solid work for many years, and while I wouldn't call her work on Frostfight life-changing, I never thought to myself, this music makes me question my life choices like the rest of this movie has. And while I'm sure Ms. Ritmanis has questioned her own life choices from time to time, I'm sure she didn't in 1993 when she was the orchestrator on Demolition Man, starring Wesley Snipes, Sandra Bullock, Benjamin Bratt, and America's Republican sweetheart, Sylvester Stallone. We've spoken about Demolition Man on HMP before, but there's a few things we haven't covered, like the fact that Lori Petty was replaced by Sandra Bullock after a few days of filming over, quote, creative differences, unquote. If you can read between the lines, it means either drugs or Stallone didn't like the way that she spoke to him. Probably a little of both. Also, there's a scene where the word low fats is written on an air duct. Low fats is a Hungarian word that means horse crank. And someone in the art department was as bothered by making this movie as Lori Petty was. There was a toy line that came out for Demolition Man, and Stallone's John Spartan character was actually just a repainted He-Man action figure, which was also the case for most of He-Man figures in the He-Man toy line. Prince Adam, Faker, please. It's all the same toy. Anyway, Demolition Man is a movie that doesn't really hold up, but it's interesting to see what people in 1993 thought the future would look like. And Jack Black is in it. He plays one of Wesley Snipes' Crips. So there you have it, HMP. This week's Stallone connection. Now, Rip Teal and Mrs. Claus, let's review this movie and never speak of it again, ever. Like never. Like never, ever, ever. It's seriously the worst. It's awful.
Well, to figure out how of the worst this possibly is, we have to go to the patented and at this point long-standing Hero Movie Podcast Robin rating system. Bruce. Oh, and if you'd like to find that, you can go to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. There's a diagram of it up there on the top of the page, so you know where's what. And while you're there, throw a like on that. Why don't you?
Give it a looky, Lou. What's it cost you?
It costs you nothing but maybe 4 or 5 seconds of your time. Bruce, where does Marvel Superheroes Adventure Frost Fight in the Asgardian Battles of the something or other? Where's that fall?
Just call it Marvel Buddies.
Marvel Buddies. He's follow the
Frost
Robin rating
Fight.
System for you.
Well, I don't want to ruffle any feathers here, but it's not. It's really not a good movie.
What?
But to be fair, we're not the audience for this movie. This isn't a movie that's intended for anyone who's old enough to shave to be watching. And I knew some kids that could shave in 7th grade, so it's for pretty young folks. And I guess if you do have kids, here's what I say: this is the kind of movie that my 6-year-old, my kindergarten kid, could sit with his great-grandfather and they could probably watch together, and neither one of them is going to get too upset by it. Nobody's going to have a fit or a heart attack. So I guess if you're looking for a non-traditional kind of Christmas movie that you can watch with the whole family, it might be okay. But outside of that context, I'm going to say Stephanie Brown, because it's really just more nothing than it is bad.
Okay. Mr. Keenan, what do you got?
It's a Jason Todd and screw everyone who made this cartoon. Your turn, Adam.
I think I'm going with Bruce. This is Stephanie Brown. It's not ungodly terrible, but it's certainly not good. The IMDb clocks it at hour 13. I think it's longer than that.
It sure felt longer than that.
And it does feel like it's longer than that. Honestly, if this were like 45 minutes to like just at an hour, I think it would be perfect. There is a lot of junk that could have been stripped out of this, and no one would have been the wiser. Most people would probably be the happier for it. But it's fun enough for what it is, and I got to say, I want to see the guy who does Iron Man there do some other stuff, because I think with how they wrote Iron Man and his portrayal, his voiceover work and everything, I think it really works well. And put that in something, man. I'll watch that. So that is it, everybody. So we finished up this week. We're going into our next week here. Now, normally we save this till a little bit further in the month, but as we said at the top of the show, this month is chock full of entertainment already. So we've got to go to the Patreon review real quick. So normally we say that toward the end of the month, but we have the year-end review and, of course, Rogue One. So we've looked at our Patreon here, and due to the voting, just by a hair, we're going to be doing Josie and the Pussycats next week. And that was one that Bruce brought up, and I'm like, is that's a comic book thing? And then you think for more than 5 seconds, which I am not very often want to do. And I was like, oh yeah, there is a comic book connection there. I'm sure we'll get into that next week.
Just be glad it's not Return to Riverdale.
That's true. So, but Bruce, until next week, where can we find more of your work on the internet, sir?
ChubbyWizard.com. You can also check out Heroes and Villains. Working on a special Christmas episode of Heroes and Villains to come out in a couple of weeks.
Very nice, Mr. Coonan.
Hey guys, why don't you find me over at the Hero Movie Sean on Twitter? Also, I'm on a podcast called The Preacher Podcast, And if you've watched that show, you might want to check that thing out. It's pretty informative.
Do yourself
And
a favor.
just an update, my dad has started listening to the Preacher podcast, so this is going to be interesting at Christmas.
Oh, nice. Bruce, I disown you in everything that you do. But yeah, and of course, heremoviepodcast.com, the Film Finds other one, a little bit later this month, so you can put it on your calendars. I'm going to be on the Outside the Cinemas end of the year show as well, talk about all the movies that I watched this year and stuff. Always a fun time with those guys and everything. And that is it, everybody. Until next week with Josie and the Pussycats, for Sean Keenan and Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.